Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with 13th episode, I think, of Lord Percival Stabbe, the Physician. Now, if memory serves, I made a bunch of mistakes on the previous run, and I'm still a little bit behind on recording the videos. So I'm a little rushed in creating this. I'm going to give this the time that it needs, but I'm probably going to need a minute to reacquaint myself. And my hope is probably within the next 2 or 3 videos I should be back on track and recording things ahead of time. This is, of course, due to the Christmas holidays coming up. So, we've got a season of orders coming up, so I may be able to rely on a contentment. Well, I can't rely on it if that's a may, but we could be looking at a contentment. We had to send away a Callagine because of the summoning. Again, I don't really want to be losing any more characters. We lost Leo, which was a bit of a frustration. So I am on my way to the Stag Door, but I don't recall why. I think it might have been so that I could get the either a knock or a knock or forge influence. The Percussigan is currently searching the city, and we are not talking at the moment. Okay. Trembling in the air, so I don't want to generate any fascination. And we've got the Course of the Heart. I think that was from a sickness. Alright. So, at the moment here, I don't have any works that I can translate. This would mean that, as far as my study is concerned, this is a time for me to try and level up a few of my different types of lore. So, for instance, I could try upgrading the Centipede Testament, because this one in particular, I can use the 2 and still have some moth left over. Formula Vigilant, similar story, except that in this case we would be giving up the Centipede, we would be giving up the Formula Vigilant, whereas we would have a Centipede Testament left over here. One of the laggards would be Grail, which I would be able to move the Thaka Convocation up to be at an equivalent level. The other thing, too, is there are some sort of longer shots. So Forge has obviously been very helpful in the past. It's something that I will likely want to continue to level up. But in this case here, right, we've got... I would need to take the Ardent Auras and make those into a Shaping Chant, take the Shaping Chants, turn them into the Caledade Invocations, and finally, after those, we would be able to level them up. Probably not the best use of my time. So let's see what we can do with the Centipede Testament. The Centipede Testament is going to want the Never Know skill, which we've got. They're going to want Glimmering, which we can obtain. And then finally, Illumination. So the drawback here is we do not have a Rarefying Mind, and we do not yet have a library in our headquarters. So in this case, I would really be waiting for some fascination. Now, the fact of the matter is that this is going to take a while to move forward anyway. So I'm not going to go out of my way to generate some fascination, but I might as well get the Centipede Testament sort of studied, because, you know, why not? I already have the resources I need. This Glimmering is going to be lasting for 180 seconds. So in this case here, I know that I'm going to fail, but I've sort of got the preliminary work for that improvement. And then when it's safer to generate some fascination, we'll take advantage of it. So when breath is black at the glass, when mist tautens the skin, when woods walk in winter, we hear these words. Now, talk-wise, I suppose there's always the question, what do I want to try and do with my followers? Do I want to try and... get another body so that I can go to the Spider's Door? Well, that's not quite as important. And in fact, we already learned that influence doesn't really help me in trying to recruit these renegades. I'm actually going to need to put some pretty hefty effort into making some of this stuff work. So for the time being, let's think about some things I can do with my talk verb that... I've already repaired the Wildering Mirror. This is... Oddly enough, this is one of the few times that I'm actually at a loss for words, so to speak. So with that in mind, let's send Slee out, because I can never quite remember what the lantern version of this is. Significant conversations in a smoky meeting room. And what do I need from my follower? I have a very narrow set of very narrow set of abilities that I use from my followers, and it is a bit of a shame because it means that I leave some things on the table. All right. Augury. My disciple can probably determine times and places where power will be available for our uses, but in matters of the Mansis, there is always danger. So we'll see whether or not Slee can produce anything useful out of that. Alright, Street Strange by Moonlight. I definitely don't want to be working on that yet, but we can preserve the percussagant by sending it out. It is gone, we are safe. So, rising heat, but that's not going to help us at the moment. So, I want to take a quick look here and see... So, it's winter... So, the Grey Dawn oil might help me out here. So, if we were to do the Rite of the Seas fasting, and we were to offer the Grey Dawn oil, and then we would bring... Well, I would need a powerful... Ah, yes. Okay. Maybe the Rite of the Crow's quenching, then. Oh, but then I would need an influence that's actually kicking around. Huh. Yeah, I'm actually in a bit of a tougher spot than I thought I was. Okay. We'll go back to the Institute just to make a little money. There's a dank and clinging smell to the Institute halls that never quite leaves one. Perhaps it is the paint, perhaps it is the patience, perhaps it is something in the walls. So getting a few more iotic essence would be a big reason to go to the spider door. My own heart pumps more strongly today. And another Street Strange by Moonlight, it looks like. So back we go. Actually, I have another summon option available to me. I don't really see a reason why I shouldn't imprison another... I mean, if the Fortune Teller becomes available, it becomes available. It's an opportunity for me to get another advantage. Forgotten Chronicle doesn't do a lot for me. Let's try our luck with the Ascent of Knives. The Urgency of Appetite might be useful in an unexpected way. I think it's a little too short. I think it's short of what I want, but let's see. The Ascent of Knives is called the Sharp Stare and the Mother of Mirrors and the Feast of the Grail. If one is to look beneath the stare, as I did last night in my dreams, one understands the last name. It draws a tithe of blood from the feet of those who ascend. Impausi, some shaped like men, many shaped like women, wait beneath the glass of the stairs to satisfy their hunger. I did not approach. I made no sound. I only observed. So we'll try and make something of that. If we've got the Wildering Mirror... Well, I've already got Vac from the Peacock store, so there are things that are useful to me from the Peacock store, but they're not immediately necessary. So actually the Spider's Door is the thing that I want at the moment. So in my dreams I know the path through the silken sands to the Spider's Door. If I slake its thirst by spilling fresh blood before I sleep, it will open for me. The Spider's Door is always thirsty, always. The blood I have given leaks in threads and spills through the skin of the world, and the door drinks it, and a moment's satisfaction swells its opening until I can pass. Alright, Season of Ardors, and we've got a fleeting reminiscence from losing the worry about fascination. Okay, Season of Suspicion's coming up. I don't have an immediate worry about the evidence, but I am going to need to get a game plan in place for the evidence. So, oddly enough... So, let's be honest here. The fortune teller's really not the sort of thing I want to be relying on, but I suppose they'll do in a pinch. This is a puzzle with missing pieces. I might find those pieces in odd corners of scholarship, provide glimmering, or use a sanctuary. What I am hoping to do, though, is a summoning. My lover and I contend in the spaces above and beneath the flesh. I must match their intensity. Alright. I've done some good. My patients are quieter than when I began. So, it is worth remembering to... Oh, I blew it with the urgency of appetite. My followers committed a dangerous error. Their mind is still intact, but the light of the mantis has touched the world here. So, oddly enough, that's the best possible time that could have happened to me, so well done. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna make a bit of a gamble here. So we're gonna talk with Yzabet about the evidence. Significant conversations in smoky meeting room. My scheme will most likely succeed. There's always a chance that something will go awry. And we'll keep the fortune teller around for a little while here, but let's get the percussivant back searching the city. Actually, there is one thing I'm going to do to try and make life... Ah, drat. I was hoping I'd be able to talk about the influence. That card must... Oh, yeah. Enid prefers to close her eyes rather than look at me. She says it hurts to look. She says it with such longing that I can't take offense. Alright. So yeah, the urgency of appetite. Unfortunately, I got a little too eager to move on. It's a shifty woman. It's about equivalent to the fortune teller, to be honest, but... Okay, pounding airs would be good for summoning a percussivant, but that doesn't necessarily do anything else for me at the moment, so we'll go to the Mallory. Blaze of Radiance. Okay, I think at this point, let's just summon something with the Blaze of Radiance. It means that we're going to have to deal with Fascination one way or the other, but at least here, I'm getting something useful for the effort. Every color has grown bright as new dye, but now all of them begin to bleed towards white. Last night in the Mantis, I visited the Mallory, from whose impulses and rotations one does not emerge unchanged. There are many radiances there, from the fires of the forge and her names and her instruments, but one radiance lingers behind them all like a fading music, the last light of the sun and splendor, shed in the moments of his division, here where the forge is strongest. Now that I have awoken, I see that radiance still. So I think we can go straight back to the spider's door. But I do want to be a little more careful with the work verb. There's summons to be done. Although I can kind of see why I would want to go to the... I can see why I would want to go... The challenge obsessive research. Surrender your reason. No. I did want some cash, which I think was why I was a little hasty. Anyways. We will now take advantage of the sunset right. We'll take the Blaze of Radiance, and we'll bring Neville in as an assistant. So, there are possibilities here. If I add Edge, I might be something... Sorry. I was outside. It's quite cold. Alright. If I add Edge, I might bring something out from behind mirrors. If I add Forge, I might contact something incandescent. Now, I think if I try the Forge, we're too short on... we're short on the Forge. But with the Edge, we should be able to bring in a hint. A hint was once a living mortal, and then a dead one, and now it's something else. Their summoning requires lantern for the light which draws them to the mantis, and edge for the striving they've endured in mirrors. So we are taking a chance here that Elizabeth is going to deliver on the on destroying the evidence. I await word. My minion has returned, the evidence has been destroyed, and I am a little safer. Okay, so we've got Old Unhappy Far Off Things. Now the good news here is that we have a Season of Ardors coming up. So what's going to happen there is the Season of Ardors is going to protect me from any dread. We do have this fascination which might potentially breed as part of the study. And so in this case here, the Old and Happy Far Off Things might actually be better to decay into dread. Again, we'll see what the next season is, but it may be an opportune time for me to just kind of take a couple of hits, sort of mental state wise, so that we can cancel everything out. All right, this one must serve another purpose now. Into the cupboard they go. This will buy their loyalty for now. So haven't quite finished the summoning yet, so we're going to wait a little bit. Imperative of Appetite. This is actually very tempting to take. But I am going to go back to the Mallory again. Unresolved Ambiguity. In the Mansis, the hours strive one against another. As these struggles are resolved, they iron out the impossible, exalt the possible, tie the fraying braids of what has been into one golden ribbon of future. Everything is resolved, history becomes the past. There are, however, exceptions. Last night in the Mansis, I visited the Mallory, from whose hammers and crucibles one does not emerge unchanged, and for 9 beats my heart ceased while it entered the fires of the forge, and the passions of the forge entered into it. I woke with the dawn, and its poor divided colors inspire memories of the forge's passion for the sun, of the vagabond's curse, and the grail's deep longing. So many half-memories. Alright, again, not a whole lot that I need to worry about with the dream slot, so we're going to go back to the spider's door again. I block this one away safely. When their screaming and raving subsides, I will subdue them properly. And we might as well take advantage of imprisoning the shifty woman. Now, just it's freely available. Overlooked place. All right, I might have found somewhere unusual. This is going to be a little unlucky for me because it is going to be another 13 seconds or so that the percussagant's going to be exposed. But in this case here, I do think I want to hold back on the expedition. Alright, this is a puzzle with missing pieces. I might find those pieces in odd corners of scholarship. Now's not a bad time for me to do a charm offensive as well, so let's get Dorothy to talk about what nice people we are. My lover and I contend in the spaces above and beneath the flesh. I must match their intensity. I'm certain that my adversary has lodged a copy of their notes elsewhere, with their solicitor, with their superior, or even with a contact in the press. This is troubling. So we will want to get rid of the evidence at some point, but I've got a few things that I can do to sort of manipulate this. So a half-glimpse of wistfulness has touched me. Alright, the hinter do not indulge themselves with the showy entrances. A living gaze will shatter them. I know it's here, and that's enough for now. Okay, so I've got 2 summons which we're going to throw into the expedition, well, once it's properly summoned. We have a Season of Despair coming up, so I can't afford to mess with the restlessness anymore, unfortunately. But for now, let's go to Voivode's Citadel. In the days of the great power of the Turks, a man of power ruled here. Over many years, he fed many thirsts until his own thirst overcame him. I have learned that both his treasures and his victims may remain in an untouched vault below the castle. The Voivode's vault will be hidden well, and if the stories are true, his victims may not rest peacefully in the dark behind the Citadel's walls. Okay, so let's paint away our... Oh, I'm actually already using my painting ability, so I have got a little bit of a dilemma with the restlessness. Actually, that's not entirely true. I just won't be able to make a high value painting. Again, I've got the passionate memory and we've got contentment. That's gonna, that's something we can pop open for a cheap contentment. We're not cheap, but an easy contentment as well. But no point in making the season of dread stay longer than it has to. Enid prefers to close her eyes rather than look at me. She says it hurts to look. She says it with such longing that I can't take offense. It's a pleasant memory and a contentment in case we need it. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. It will consume funds. Oop. I can add funds now, or add helpers. The favor from authority is something I would maybe consider... I would consider getting under other circumstances, but in this case, let's take the Mallory again. It's an iotic essence. Later operations of the forge, the Madrigard yields to the true Forge of Days, and the essence begins to redden. Someday, perhaps, it will not, but for now, we have this. Last night in the Mansis, I visited the Mallory, from whose fires one does not emerge unchanged. The forge's light fell upon me, and my heart boiled when I woke. And when I woke, my blood burnt within me, so that I had to shed it in a cup before it overwhelmed me. And lo, 10 drops of it were not blood, exactly, unless it be the blood of the sun. Perhaps. I found the cup, and the blood is not mine. The forge seer's memory. So this is something that I can use. I don't believe I can use it for a painting, but I can use it to summon a Callagine if I need. So the hidden door we can find with lantern, so we're in good shape there. And then the fretful dead, we've already got more than enough edge, so we are gonna sit tight. And let's go back to the spider's door. Okay, Season of Ambition, so I want to be careful on any additional locations that I'll bring up for the next little while. One thing I would like to try and do is summon a proper Callagine to deal with the evidence, but I'll leave that be. I finished a painting to the excitement of absolutely no one but me. So let's go back to the Institute. The dead are pale as inverse shadows. They move like cobwebs in a breeze. Almost certainly they can't stand before us. We'll send them mumbling back to the shadows of the wood. And I've increased my mastery of the lore of the wood, which we call by its aspect moth. So we don't need to worry about the fascination. And no one understands us, or else they understand us too well. Now that isn't too much of a disappointment because the notoriety goes away in 40 seconds anyway. But we are going to send Dorothy out to try and get rid of some of the other notoriety, because we are going to be generating quite a bit of it. Study-wise... Wait a minute, where's my... Oh, here we are. Thigh-born thorax sweet, vine-crowned moth king hatched in the thigh of the thunder king who's dead. Drink up his belly lymph. These are the sights you'll see. Okay, I think the next logical step is the formula vigilant. So, or rather the next level of heart lore. So we do have the never know. We would need health or a prisoner. And glimmerings, which we already have. So let's carry on. There are lessons the anatomist, the dancer, and the shaman all learn. My biggest priority right now does need to be expeditions, because that is going to be what helps me get started bringing in some of these renegades. Back to the Mallory. And an incandescence. Change follows fire. A 15th order influence. This might be the personal attention of an hour. This can be used in some rites to summon minions. Last night in the Mantis, I visited the Mallory, from whose engines and avenues one does not emerge unchanged. I watched the processes of sunset, and I entered the amber joy, and the white joy, and the blue joy, and I was subjected to the enlightenments of calcination, and the forge of days touched me with her burnished fingers, and I rise from my bed with the utter knowledge that all nights, all nights, all nights must end. One thing that I should maybe give as an example, I want to talk a little bit about lore. I don't have, and this is actually a really big reason maybe why I sometimes try and leave a lot of room open for lore, but generally the impressions I get from this game are very much impressions that are drawn from the tone of the writing and the repetition of certain ideas. So I cannot give you a fully reasoned chain of I can't give you a full chain of logic to say indisputably this is what this refers to. But I would say here, I watched the process of sunset and I entered the amber joy, the white joy, and the blue joy. We do know the sun was divided into three, and so these are three colors that I see associated with the divided sun. Now, what does that give you? I mean, there are some things to note. For instance, we know many references to the cobalt blue of the Mantis. Does that reflect is this the same blue? I guess is the question. Is the light in the Mantis the light that is brought by at least this aspect of the divided sun? That's now two leaps that I've made. But I mean, again, we've got the divided sun. The Mallory makes a lot of references to this, and so. And again, it is sunset, right? So it's not like it's completely out there. Obviously, it's not an explicit reference to a divided sun, but I also don't think it's completely unreasonable to draw that connection as well. And so, you can always say okay, that's all well and good, but what do you do with that? And the answer is nothing. I don't have any giant insight, and so I'm more or less going to snip off the thought at this point here. However, it's something I kind of keep in the back of my head, and so if I see a reference to certain colors, or perhaps I'm given another kind of a mapping that I can give to sort of the divided sun, these are things that I might kind of pull back and bring in on its own. Or if nothing else, I just have another image in my head of what the Mantis is like, right? Obviously, I am not. I may give the impression that I am, but actually, I don't play this game just to fully tease out all the details of the lore. I'm actually quite content to sit down and be completely mystified by what's going on, because to me, the real world element, which makes me sound so dull in the real world, but I suppose I am rather dull in the real world. It's actually more about the mundane world and sort of the relationship between your character who has this very special knowledge of a world that is very difficult to potentially describe or be understood by by people who aren't aware of it. I actually, that's the sort of thing I relate to a lot myself. I had an example of this. I was sharing some data work that I did with someone, and it was based entirely on being able to read in certain words into a computer and to be able to do just sort of these breakdowns of them. And I recorded a YouTube video for for these friends to sort of show them what they are. And I have to appreciate that to a certain person, this is nonsense. And it's incredibly weird that I would get very excited by something like that. And to me, to a certain extent, that's my Mantis, right? That's my insight to this wonderful world of data and and analysis, and there's lots of things that I think are there, and certainly that's a very deep well that I don't understand everything about. But to a certain extent, another, maybe a better example, because I don't necessarily think people maybe actually that would be an interesting question, whether or not people who are fans of Cultist Simulator are more or less inclined to like mathematics. But clearly, mathematical Platonism is a thing. it's hard to think about these different principles and these ideas, and it's hard not to think in Platonic terms, to think about the forms and such inside of Cultist Simulator. And yet I think it would be fair to say that at least a very large number of people who tend to kind of have a little bit more of a literary or are more interested in creative writing and the sorts of things that I think would probably compose a Cultist Simulator audience. I'm going to guess that a number of them probably didn't care much for mathematics, or maybe they did like mathematics and they kind of had it beaten out of them in school, which is definitely something that happened with me, and I sort of reconnected with it later. But if you are one of these people who doesn't necessarily like math, or maybe you don't have a mind or an interest for it, I kind of feel like everybody can be a math person, but like everything in life, right? You have a limited amount of time, and is it necessarily the best thing? Is it going to be the thing that is the best thing for you to pursue at the time? If you hear someone who's really into mathematics describe what they do or something that they're interested in, that's, I think, a really great way to hook into that. I think people can relate to it already on its own, right? I think everybody has that one special thing. And even if you just want to say it's the thing you geek out about, that's definitely one way of approaching it. But definitely if you've ever had the pleasure of talking with someone who's really good on a particular mathematical subject and sort of hear them hold forth on it, I think that's probably another way that you can relate to it. But again, like, creativity is, well, again, not to suggest that mathematics isn't creative. It is actually very, very much so. But I think that's maybe one of the ways, because I think the sort of person who plays Cultist Simulator probably does actually really like doing creative things. And they also can appreciate that sometimes there is that story or that idea that maybe isn't necessarily more appreciated by the broader world, or there's sort of this rich internal life that maybe isn't necessarily fully appreciated. And I think that part probably is a little bit more, I think people are used to being the one with the special knowledge and not necessarily being appreciated in their own time. But if you want to understand what the other side of that coin is, what you really want to do is think about the kinds of people who get really into a subject that I would actually argue dislike, although the problem here is that you sometimes run into subjects you really don't want to think about. So like, this is going to destroy my comment. So think about cryptocurrency, right? There are a bunch of people who are really, really, really into this thing. And just to be clear, I'm not. So if you were hoping for that conversation, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to disappoint you. And it's fair to say that it's not just that this is a subject that people are indifferent to, but there are some people who really don't like it for some perfectly understandable reasons. And again, like, it's nice to sort of imagine that you're the creative one who gets to see the secret world and will one day ascend and bring about the apocalypse. But I don't know, like, there's got to be at least someone who's played this game and is in fact someone's Mr. Alden, but they don't think of themselves as Mr. Alden. Obviously, Mr. Alden is one of the more, one of the less kind characters to relate to. But even then, like, to understand, like, why, I guess the big question would be, is because you have knowledge of what the Mantis is, why wouldn't you, because this thing is real, right? Because we as the players have access to this and we're able to do certain things. Why wouldn't everyone in the world? Like, are they just stupid or something? And of course, there's so many things in the world that are actually really interesting and really important that we just don't have any time or bandwidth for. So anyways, sorry, that was a longer digression than I wanted to. I really just wanted to talk about the three colors. And a lot of a lot of the stuff that really I've kind of hooked into in terms of the lore do actually tend to be big leaps like this. They're generally not well reasoned or sort of these perfect chains of logic to run in. I actually suspect the game is specifically written so that you need to bring something of yourself to make those connections. I don't think there's a lot in the fragments. I don't think you could come up with a full perfect link from each bit of writing to get a complete picture of what's going on. Okay, we have enough for another trip to the spider's door, so we'll do that. So this will get rid of the fascination if I so... Well, actually, I got lucky. So in 51.3, that's when the Season of Visions comes up, so I don't need to worry about the fascination. Wisdom is a country, and these are its maps. Right, our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add funds now, or I could send another follower. Well, here we really just need another lantern follower, so Pope Clifton's on the case. And in the meantime, I need to make use of the Forge influence. So clearly this would be something that I could summon King Crucible with. But in this case, I actually want the Callagine for the evidence. So, Forge for the Smoky Spirit summoning, Winter for its binding. It must know who will rule it. It might feel a little disappointing to wind up, reading, or not reading, to use such a powerful influence for a lesser summon, but in this case, right, it's appropriate to the time. It's what I need, so. Alright, we need the Glimmering first, and we have... they're still in hiding. What exactly are they up to? So they may advance. We've apparently had that happen once before, I just never really saw a consequence for it. Alright. I probably should have known this was coming. This didn't happen all that long ago, so I am going to have to try and get rid of this. Every color has grown bright as new dye, but now all of them begin to bleed towards white. Last night in the Mantis, I visited the Mallory, from whose impulses and rotations one does not emerge unchanged. There are many radiances there, from the fires of the Forge and her names and her instruments, but one radiance lingers behind them all like fading music, the last light of the sun in splendor, shed in the moments of his division. Here, where the Forge is strongest, now that I have awoken, I see that radiance still. So I think I'll bring one of the followers into the cult to address that. Okay, so I don't see a reason why I shouldn't go to the Peacock store. You know, we have this Bentreya for it. It's just, you know, I want to be a little careful. In my dreams, I know the path through the glass garden to the Peacock's door, the most admirable of doors, the door which shines like a mirror. Perhaps, with the right resources, I can pass it. The Peacock's door reflects the mirror I hold in my sleep, and the mirror reflects the Peacock's door. Already a sensuous shiver ripples its surface. It aches for fracture, and when it finds that satisfaction, I will enter. Okay, another Season of Visions, but that's not going to actually hit me. So, let's bring the follower in. Or a hanger-on in. This one is ready. Aha! There it is. Is that it? Faint lines and stones, a surface that yields to pressure. We found it. The hidden door moves with a grating shudder and a shower of dust. Okay, so there's no real reason why I should risk, risk a Callagine getting loose. We'll just hit it with reason. We'll go back to Dream. We'll have to go to the Stag Door soon anyway because we don't have any new hires. We can't get any new hires either. So I can either send Saliba out to get a new victim, or we take our time. Before they speak the words, the novice must sharpen a knife so it can separate a drifting thread, and it be not sharp enough, it will be the worse for them. So, now, right now I've just moved them up to pawn, so out of all of these, I will in fact be able to level them up one more time. So in practice, this is going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 7... Sorry, what am I... 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 influence that I can get past. I think it's a little premature, but let's send Dorothy out on another charm offensive. Alright. We'll use Never Know. My rival has been up to some kind of mischief. The Suppression Bureau may take note. Fate lines in stone, a surface that yields to pressure. We found it. The hidden door moved. Alright, we know we got past it. Okay, well clearly I'm not going to stay at the entrance of the Peacock Door. I might get Dread through the War Museum, or I might get Secret History. Same story with the Red Church. Let's go Red Church. Alright, I'm not going to complain about a favor from authority. Each of the stained glass windows of the Red Church is devoted to a distinct appetite, and the scenes they show are from life. Last night, in one of the uglier windows, I saw the appetites of a certain public figure satisfied in private. I know he won't want this information made public. Perhaps he will show me some consideration. So I should probably have a chat with Valsine about repairing the mirror first of all, and then dream-wise, let's go back to the Stag Door. Right now I'm looking for either Winter Forge or Knock Influence. So most of those I can get from the Stag Door. Stag Door is the Adept's Gate. To pass it is to be initiated into the first true mystery of the House of the Sun. The head Gearby weeps to see me enter where it cannot, but it must let me pass. The scarred valves of the door grind open. Alright, let's go back to the Institute. Whoa! Let's go back to the Institute for a little while because I do actually need a little more money. Okay, Season of Suspicion coming up. I think we are going to get hit by the notoriety. Yeah, so 29 seconds, they'll probably soak up this one. Actually, if anything, I'm probably going to extend the life of this. But with the favor from authority, it's not quite a hair on fire moment with the... Okay, cool. The mystique is gone. And we'll surrender some health. I still think we're going to get hit with the notoriety, though. Someone has left a little heap of treasures before the sarcophagus, like an offering. There are no footprints in the dust. Whoever left them came here long ago, or else has no need to touch the ground when they pass. Alright, Urgency of Appetite we can probably turn into some kind of a summoning. Raw Prophet, maybe. Good work, Hint. Good work, Percussagant. Alright, we've got a Wakeful Tympanum. In the grove where they flayed the thunder, they rattled their instruments to rouse the frenzy. The power still clings like a scent. We have 26 enticements, 7 torments, so this is a book we can translate. Good news for us. A Catalogue of Uncharted Pleasures, so this unfortunately is in Frisian, which we can't read yet. The Gospel of Zacchaeus, which we can read, it's in Greek. And the Book of Thrones. So we've got 2 books that we can read. Now there's a little challenge that I have with the Percussagant right now because of its lifespan. I think I'm just going to have to take the hit, to be honest. I can try resummoning the Percussagant in the worst case, but, you know, the Urgency of Appetite, something I need to deal with too. Oh, well. Oh. Decisions. I'm taking the Subtle Rupture. In sleep, I ran my fingers along the ridged edges of the Stag Door's scars. Our company it was that shattered it, Gearby says suddenly. Before the gods who were flesh, the Mansus was forbidden to mortals. We were the first no. He begins again to weep his molten tears. I wish that we had not. I wish that I had died in the world. But I have forgotten what else he said, but I remember the shape of the fissures in the Stag Door, and for all of today, doors will fear my touch. Okay, let's go So I definitely want to take advantage of the knock. Let's grab some winter. Oop. Forge for the Smoky Spirit summoning, winter for its binding. It must know who will rule it. And yeah, I can still go through this. Through the door. Alright, no one else understands us, or else they understand us too well. I still don't think there's anything I can do to fix this, but... Oh, yeah, I've really done it now. I was going to talk to Dorothy originally and then put the percussivant in, but... wrong order. Oh well. Wouldn't have made a difference anyway. So once we finish, again, I've just been leveling up the Heart lore because, you know, it was the earliest opportunity. I probably would have moved on to Grail, but seeing as we have some books we can read now, I definitely want to focus on that. The damage pain is a teacher, they say, especially when they aren't in pain. Tower Revec. Blasted stump of a building, the air festers. Whatever power destroyed this place still clings. Only one floor remains above ground, but we suspect more space below. So we got to keep this open because in 18 seconds we're going to be able to send our summons out. And I don't want to bring any more. I don't want to bring any more locations in on the odd chance that a Season of Ambitions comes up. It takes a long time to go through an expedition. Well, the Trembling Heat would have been helpful. Do I want to... I might as well take it in. Kirby was weeping again. I scooped up his molten tears in my cupped palm. In the dream, my skin peeled and blistered, but only in the dream. Right, not all the Forge's children are bright. Its offcuts and its bastards gather in the bounds like hammer scale in the cracks of a smithy floor. Here comes one now. So again, this Callagine is not going to be going on the expedition with us. This is specifically to eliminate the evidence. Okay, Season of Ambition, so I definitely need to be careful on my timing. Should have gone to the Institute right away. Alright, nothing. My words cease like sand and glass. So, we will talk with the summoning because the evidence is going to pop up one way or the other. We've got... So I read that, so... Really running low on money. We'll have to search assiduously to find whatever treasures might remain, and if the tower was truly destroyed in battle between adepts, dangerous influences may still cling to it. So this is definitely going to be one of the more challenging ones for me to deal with, but didn't sign up for this to be easy. We will go back to the Stag Door again, mostly just because it's nice to have the influence in the background. If I can have more summons, so much the better, but nothing too critical. If this ever reaches trial, I will be in serious danger. Even if this hunter is disposed of, another may find their notes. So we are going to put that damning evidence and hope the Callagine does its job. Although we currently don't have any notoriety. I believe you don't need notoriety to have the Suppression Bureau put you on trial. At some point I'd like to be doing these works again, but I need to get some cash first. Alright, our expedition plans for the next challenge. It'll consume funds. I can add those funds now, or I could send another follower. So Lantern and Heart or Grail. Ah, okay. So we will start with Lantern. Let's bring Slee in. And I've increased my mastery of the lore Unceasing, which we call by its aspect Heart. So the Velvet Charm. The Velvet always answers no, but we can shelter in that no like beasts in the crook of a tree. Let's start translating. 26 enticements, 7 torments. The painter, Niels Friedrich Malsker, notoriously attempted a series of paintings based on the torments. By the 5th torment, the demands of painting had grown so dire that he died of blood loss. The diagrams in this text are thankfully less detailed. Lock the study door, the work begins. So we will heal the injury. We've got a vitality left over from our Course of the Heart, but clearly we need to wait for our journey to the Mantis to finish. So back to the Institute pretty much automatically. I definitely need to build up my war chest again. So I believe if I go to the Painted River, I get a better secret history. The attention of the hours is drawn to the bloodiest wars. Afterwards, the histories are braided like hair. There's a great chamber in the Mantis through which a painted river flows. The vagabond, it is claimed, painted it from memory in the years before she left the house. Certainly, there are histories concealed in its design. I traced them with my hand last night. There were fragments of aquamarine paint beneath my nails, flecks of gold leaf when I was done. Excuse me. So, we'll take the injury, we'll take the vitality. All I need now is time. We'll almost certainly find this hidden door. I'm not going to make any, I'm not going to add anyone until we know we've passed it. My minion is returned. The evidence has been destroyed. I am a little safer. So we'll add the Callagine here just to prevent them from generating, prevent them from decaying. And in this case, we'll send Dorothy out on another charm offensive. It will probably just pick up the Mystique, but in this case, well, I've already committed to talking to Dorothy. Is there something else I can do with the talk verb right now that might be a little more helpful? I don't think so. So what I'm really looking for are the Scaptodon fangs. I was debating about whether or not I should say exactly what I'm looking for, but basically, with the Scaptodon fangs, I believe I'll be able to get at least three renegades into the cult. Here's another who would ascend before me. So my rival seeks tools and lore for their own ascension. So right call by not bringing up more than one expedition. Again, it does slow my pace, but I would prefer a slower pace where I'm guaranteed to go to all the locations than one where I potentially miss out on something important. All right, I've prepared the text for study. So the question about reading this book, especially with a description where the paintings are leading to some rather extreme behavior. You always want to keep an eye on what might generate as a result of your are you going to have a season that'll hurt you? Now, to be honest, with 17 seconds left to go, this is one of these times where maybe I should be a little more cautious, because 17 seconds isn't a whole lot of time for me to try and get my ducks in a row as far as dealing with a dread, let's say. On the other hand, it is just one dread, and we've kind of been able to manage it so far, so I'm going to be reckless. The enticements of the Grail outnumber its torments, but its torments are its final nature. Birth is the first torment, and thirst the 7th. Also, talk-wise, I should have been chatting with Valsine about repairing a mirror, but that's fine. We'll carry on. Okay, well, that's what we were worried about. So I could try painting, but we'll just go back to the Institute. Our expedition plans for the next challenge. We wanted heart for this, so Clovette, do us proud. And the sick room grows close and stale. It is time to get up. Okay, so if I do a regular dream, I could potentially get a Actually, you know what? So there's a couple of potential outcomes. So one, we'll think a little bit about the dreams that we can get. I think there's a deep and restful sleep, which gives us a heart. I believe there is the slamming of doors, which gives you a restlessness. I believe there's Herschel's Nightmare. That gets you a Dread. I think you can get a Fascination. So there is one chance we wind up with a Dread, which means we'd potentially get hit by 2. But there is also the potential we get a Contentment. So I'm kind of weighing the odds on this, and you know, just doing a standard dream. Standards of Daylight Society cannot apply to us, but perhaps we won't emphasize that point. Perhaps we'll rely on charm and good humor. I've supplied elegant platitudes about the high principles of our organization. We're almost certainly strong enough in heart to be secure against this curse. And my rival I already got that. Through the enumeration of the Grail's enticements and torments winds the sorrowful history of the witches of the dry land, the ordeal of birth from 2 wombs, their struggle from and supplication of the Grail, the yearning for union which drives them all. So we've got the formula voluptuous. There exist some pleasures intense enough to corrupt the laws of the physical world. So in this case, the need to level up the Thakic invocation isn't quite as high as it used to be. It's still a natural candidate because we can level that up, get the formula voluptuous, and then have Grail on a higher level. But again, it's it doesn't have quite the same immediacy. Okay, we will now translate the Gospel of Zacchaeus. Okay, nobody understands us, so as a precaution... Actually, I can't do that quite yet, so... In fact, the season of... So I didn't plan this out properly. What I'll just do as a precaution is bring in a hanger-on. This one is ready. Notice Dread has got edge, so we didn't even need the lore. Apparently, if you're a gloomy fellow, it's a lot easier to bring people into the cult. Alright, so no vitality for us right now. The curse shrivels. Our power was stronger than the power that was here. The curse won't touch us. Back to the Institute. The crowds of sleep, rumpled fields, the wink of a river, a tingling chill. So let's see what would have happened. Actually, if we get a Herschel's Nightmare, I'm going to be so upset. Dreams of the rain. Rain is coming, but the right kind of rain. Okay, so we did wind up with a contentment. Before they speak the words, the novice must sharpen a knife so it can separate a drifting thread, and it be not sharp enough, it will be the worse for them. So I would love to get Clovet on a charm offensive, but I am going to get Valsine on the repairing the mirror first. I just took too long on it. I dreamt of the rain, whispering in the eaves, tapping on windows like an old friend, hissing prankishly in the chimney. It is difficult to be unhappy in the right kind of rain. This is actually... I had a wonderful trip back to Vancouver a couple of weeks ago. I was actually invited by Brace Yourself Games, the people who do Crypt of the Necrodancer and lately Industries of Titan and Phantom Brigade. But in addition to just getting a chance to, you know, say hello to another batch of very cool developers, I had originally come from Vancouver, and so I got a chance to see some old friends. I stayed at their place, and true to form for Vancouver, it didn't just rain, it like pounded down. It wasn't the rains that's caused a lot of trouble in BC, but I really, really like this line now, particularly because it gives you contentment, because while it was rain that was sort of hard enough that it woke me up, I can definitely remember that sound, and I have never felt more home than kind of in that moment. Also, my friends have an absolutely beautiful house, so that was also kind of cool. I've slept in a bed that is better than any other bed I've ever slept in. But yeah, so like I said earlier, definitely the best way of experiencing Cultist Simulator, and I think the thing that keeps me coming back is definitely just being able to put a bit more of myself into the game, and it always comes in different ways. But I think being able to just find those hooks into your own life is really the most rewarding way to play. The Stag Door is the Adept's Gate. To pass it is to be initiated into the first true mystery of the House of the Sun. The head Gearby weeps to see me enter where it cannot, but it must let me pass. The scarred valves of the door grind open. Alright, we're close to the end of the expedition here, so we'll... I know we're at the hour mark, but I figure 20 seconds can't hurt. Prepared the text for study, an extremely heterodox account of the Nazarene Messiah and his works, describing his ascension to the Mansus through the opening of his body. 7 were the wounds of his body, 7 the doors of the house, 7 the lesser aspects of the hours, and Knock, the aspect above all, for the mother of ants is the mother of salvation. Oh, it's 2 sickness in a row. I've done some good. My patients are quieter than when I began. Sorry, I said it was 20 seconds, but it's actually a little bit longer. A long-delayed conclusion. Beneath the tower is a cramped cellar with cracked slate walls. The proportions, it should be a perfect cube, but somehow there are too many corners. Blue light festers at the junction of the ceiling and wall. The floor flexes slowly, like the skin of a bubble. It echoes to a stamped foot. What space is open underneath? We'll take the subtle lecture. I don't think I'll use it because that means that I won't be earning money, but... In sleep I ran my fingers along the ridged edges of the Stag Door scars. Our company it was that shattered it, Gearby says suddenly. Before the gods who were flesh, the Mansus was forbidden to mortals. We were the first no. He begins again to weep his molten tears. I wish that we had not. I wish that I had died in the world. I've forgotten what else he said, but I remember the shape of the fissures in the Stag Door, and for all of today, doors will fear my touch. Alright. I think I gotta keep the dream slot open for our cures. Follower requires a bronze Spintrea or better to complete their task. So a couple things lore-wise here. Again, I'm running short on time, so I'll keep this brief. But of course, we're talking about the blue light festering. It is kind of worth noting that we are now, again, in secret locations in the land beyond the forest across the continent. So this is kind of the point we're very clearly sort of pushing a little bit further than what we might expect to see in the real world. Blue light associations with the Mansus, too many corners. This is definitely the sort of stuff that you'll see in all the best little short stories. And those are just little markers that I always take to try and, again, get just kind of find the hooks into things that I already know, to make a little more sense of the world, or maybe to get some deeper insight into some of the lore. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with the percussagant. Bundle the books into a sack. Hurry up the handholds to the tower stump. The sky above ripples with cobalt aurora. The hills around are washed with shutters of blue light. There is a high and singing sound from the stones of the tower as we leave. Lightning cracks from the sky, and suddenly everything is silent. The tower stump is gone. Alright, bitter black salts. So this will be helpful. Excuse me. If I've been needing more powerful forge artifacts, bitter black salts will help because they are a pigment. We've got how the end will begin. So if you think you're not going to get dread after reading this book, you might need to just think for a minute. So yeah, I want to be careful about when I read this one. The Furious Tantra and the Twin Serpent Tantra. And on that note, I think I'm going to leave it here. I'll leave the decisions for next time. There's probably going to be a little bit of time between when I'm able to between when I'm finishing this now and when I can record the next episode. It's quite late for me here, so I may need a little bit of time to to figure things out for Friday's episode. But I'm hoping that I'll have these up and at full resolution for my usual times on Wednesday and Friday. But as always, thank you very much for watching. I've really enjoyed a lot of the comments coming up lately in the channel, and I've actually noticed a few of you creeping up in some of the other like the live streams that I do. So I always appreciate that. If you can, like to the video, a comment, or a subscription if you haven't already, helps me grow the channel and get noticed and kind of continue doing this. But as always, it's your viewership that is probably the biggest signal to YouTube. That is something I always appreciate. So I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I will see all of you on Friday. Until then.